I would like very much to welcome you to our 2014 State of the City's presentation here in Daly City. At this time, I would like to ask our Chamber of Commerce Director, Evan Boyd, to come forward along with the United States Color Guard and present the Pledge of Allegiance. Evan.
Color Guard.
Forward, march, left, 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 group, halt.
Right hand over your heart. I pledge allegiance to the flag
of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Ready? Post. Up, down, face.
Thank you very much, Evan Boyd and the United States Army, for their fine tribute to our flag. At this time, I would like to present from the City of Daly City, the Honorable David J. Canepa, Mayor.
Great. Thank you very much. Thank you, Georgette. It's great to see so many friends, and especially those in the business community. So with that, let me just preface my comments by saying I'm delighted to be here. I really am. So it's an honor and pleasure to be here this morning. Before we start, I want to thank Georgette for her leadership. Georgette has been extremely solid in representing business interests in Daly City and Coleman. I would even bargain to say North San Mateo County. So Georgette, thank you for your leadership. And you know, Helen, my PowerPoint presentation isn't as good as yours. But I will tell you, thank you for coming to Daly City and being part of this event. You did a wonderful presentation. Is Mr. Tony Zidich here? Mr. Zidich, can you step up for a minute, please? So I want to recognize Tony Zidich. Tony's been our treasurer for 42 years. I believe Tony is the longest tenured elected official in San Mateo County. He's announced that on February 28th, he's going to retire. And I have to tell you, Tony's loyal service to the city of Daly City is incomparable. And if you look at what Tony's done for Daly City and for San Mateo County, we're lucky to have you. Tony, step up here. Tony, thank you very much. So we're going to have a little fun with the speech, but then I'm really going to get into some issues of importance. So let me just start by saying the last 5 or 6 years, Daly City has had its fair amount of economic struggles of epic proportions. Today, the city faces an entirely new challenge. Each day we struggle to contain our enthusiasm and optimism for this great city. After confronting years of financial uncertainty, we are embracing the prospect of recovery. Let me say that again, of recovery. During the very difficult years of the recession, recovery was an elusive dream. Today, I can say without hesitation that the state of Daly City is the strongest it's been in many, many years. Although the state of the city is strong, my colleagues and I remain cautious. We've made difficult budget cuts in recent years and have adapted to the frugality and austerity of the new normal. We will remain prudent and disciplined as we approach the upcoming budget cycle. As Governor Brown said in his State of the State address last week, and I quote, "While we know our revenues will fluctuate up and down, our long-term liabilities are enormous and ever-growing. It is the unavoidable reality of the business of government. We have to pay salaries and meet pension obligations while maintaining high-quality services for the residents and businesses in our community. During the recession, we were subject to forces beyond our control. It pains me to admit this publicly, but the truth is there are forces greater than us, in particular, the state of California, that adversely affected our ability to fully fund programs that are important to this community. We'll strive to control our economic destiny in the future by continuing to exercise fiscal restraint and by doing everything we can to grow and diversify our local economy. I am confident we are on the path to a more sustainable city. Sorry, I didn't mean to depress you there. A few weeks ago, several hundred people gathered here at City Hall to celebrate the opening of the art exhibit on the 3rd floor. The exhibit is appropriately titled New Beginnings and features the work of artists from the Peninsula chapter of the Women's Caucus for Art. New Beginnings resonates with me as we start the new year. Daly City is poised on the threshold of new beginnings in 2014. For the first time, Daly City is buzzing with development activity. If you've been to Ceremony Center, you've no doubt noticed a new 2-story building at the southwest corner of the property. That's Dick's Sporting Goods, which will open this spring. Dick's Sporting Goods will bring an additional 65,000 square feet of new retail space to Daly City, making it Dick's flagship store in the San Francisco Bay Area. One of the greatest things about the new store is that it will create dozens of new jobs. If you know of any store managers or clerks, direct them to Dick's Sporting Goods. They are hiring right now. Dick's Sporting Goods is just the first phase in an anticipated major expansion of Ceremony Center that will include an above-ground 160,000 square foot parking garage with a 475 parking space. Will you please stand? Our friends from Equity One, thank you for all you do, okay? Thank you very much. This will feature 210,000 square feet of retail and restaurant space. I'm going to tell you a secret. And a Dave & Buster's. And that's something I'm extremely proud of. One of the great things that's going to be happening there, and it's a great property, is that we're going to have a 75,000-foot hotel and a 65,000-foot medical office building, potentially. While we anticipate the planned expansion, there are some more immediate changes coming to the center. Japanese fashion retailer Uniqlo announced earlier this month that it plans to open a store at Ceremony this year. Uniqlo is the 4th largest apparel retailer in the world and will complement the center's 4 anchor tenants: Target, JCPenney's, Macy's, and Dick's Sporting Goods. More importantly, it will create 86 jobs. Again, this will help Daly City sales tax. While we are excited about the challenges of Ceremony, let's not overlook the flurry of activity at the nearby Ceremony Plaza, which is being transformed into a vibrant new shopping center, Gellert Marketplace. Gellert Marketplace will generate hundreds, let me say that again, Gellert Marketplace will generate hundreds of new jobs, both during construction and for the long term with the opening of new retail stores. Demolition of the old Sports Authority, Ross, and Circuit City buildings is in progress to make way for the newly configured marketplace. It will be anchored by the Bed Bath & Beyond, Panera Bread, and Sprouts Farmers Market to complement the existing PetSmart, Ross, and Party City. I will tell you, I don't know how many Panera Bread fans are out there, but we're getting a lot of positive response on that, so that's encouraging. In total, the new center will comprise 140,000 square feet of new space. Cross Point Realty Services, the owner of Gellert Marketplace, anticipates a grand opening later this year. Definitely something we are looking forward to. And let's not forget the all-important sales tax revenue that will be generated by totally revised retail center. Construction and activity in Daly City is expected to be greater in 2014 than any of the previous 7 or 8 years. Among the larger projects, and that one that will create many jobs for the building trades, is the residential subdivision at the former Christopher Columbus School. Lennar Homes purchased the 13-acre site from the Jefferson Elementary School District for $18 million and is expected to commence work to build 80 new single-family homes in the very near future. A key component of this development is affordable workforce housing. 12 of the 80 single-family residences will be sold below the market rate. And this is a huge need in our community, huge need. This housing will provide a potential opportunity for local teachers, nurses, firefighters, police officers, and other local working people to purchase a home in the community they serve. Lennar's development is a welcome addition to Daly City at a time when the demand for housing remains high. I look forward to welcoming 80 new families to the Daly City community. Job creation in these challenging economic times remains a priority for the City Council. We are working hard to attract new employers to the city. A few short years ago, the unemployment rate in California was more than 12%. It was also known as the Great Recession. It was actually above 9% right here in San Mateo County, one of the best employment centers in the country. Things are definitely looking up in 2014. The latest numbers from the U.S. Department of Labor, released earlier this month, indicate that San Mateo County's unemployment rate has dropped to 5% and is trending downward. That is certainly good news. Even with the uplifting numbers, there is always room for improvement, and the City Council and I pledge to continue support for local businesses. I do want to recognize some of our local businesses out there. I'd like to recognize the proprietor of Burgermeister, Paul Moganum, and I'd also like to thank the Choi family from Westlake Cafe for coming, and so thank you. My colleagues and I will do everything we can to promote a sustainable local economy. With that in mind, I would be remiss if I didn't acknowledge our grave concern. It's about our Daly City's largest employer, Seton Medical Center. Undoubtedly, most of you have heard that the Daughters of Charity Health System is planning to sell Seton. The 357-bed hospital is a Daly City landmark and provides nearly 1,600 jobs for healthcare professionals. I like to say that was my first foray into office. I was born there. So, 1975, less than Tony Zidich's years of service. Sorry, I couldn't help myself, Tony. I would hate to see the hospital cease operations. It is critically important to the residents of North San Mateo County, especially the uninsured, low-income, and indigent patients. Seton is often the only place to turn for the working poor in our community. Those individuals working multiple jobs to feed their families and pay their rent. I know that the decision to sell their healthcare facilities has been difficult for the Daughters of Charity. We all know that the cost of healthcare are overwhelming, even for profit-making medical providers. So nonprofit healthcare operators are even more seriously affected. However, I remain optimistic that in the end, the medical center will be acquired by a healthcare provider who is able to continue to operate Seton as it is today. Nonetheless, if the Daughters of Charity are not able to attract a buyer interested in maintaining the property as a hospital, it is my hope that this incredibly valuable real estate asset in Daly City will one day be transformed into a use that is economically beneficial to our community and that has negligible impact on the surrounding neighborhoods. I mentioned that 2014 is the year of new beginnings in Daly City. And although nobody knows what the future may hold for Seton Medical Center, it may very well be something different. And Seton isn't the only Daly institution poised to undergo a historic change. Last November, we learned that Joe's of Westlake was sold. I'm thinking of the Bruno Scatina. What do you call it? The Scatina. What's the burger there? The steak. I love steak la Bruno. Can you say that again? Thank you. And that Joe's of Westlake was being sold, marking the end of an era. And while many of us are saddened by the closing of Joe's, we are bolstered by knowing that it will reopen next year, better than ever, I hope. Following a year-long renovation, we said goodbye to Joe's last Sunday, bringing an end to a phenomenal 58-year run. A year from now, I hope we are able to join the new owners to cut the ribbon. I feel honored to serve as Daly City Mayor in 2014. I couldn't ask to serve with a better city council. Vice Mayor Carol Klatt's leadership and unwavering commitment to Daly City is inspiration to all of us. I applaud her eagerness to help whenever and wherever she can, as evidenced by her involvement with several boards and governing bodies that serve peninsula cities, especially as San Mateo County's representative to the Bay Area Air Quality Management District Board of Directors. And I will tell you, don't leave your chimney on, because Carol Klatt might be driving around Daly City or surrounding areas. So, Carol, you do a wonderful job. My colleague Sal Torres is a steadfast presence on our city council. Councilmember Torres has worked tirelessly to advocate for increased public transit opportunities throughout Daly City. Councilmember Torres planted the seeds that led to the Bayshore Community-Based Transportation Plan, which in turn led to the grant-funded free Bayshore shuttle that started service January 6th, which is circulating throughout the city. Councilmember Mike Ingona is the longest-serving member of the council, and after more than 20 years of service, he is still as energetic and enthusiastic about the job as he was in 1993 when he was first elected. Councilman Gingona was responsible for introducing a wellness policy to Daly City that has helped to improve the health and well-being of our employees as well as our residents. Councilmember Buenaventura just completed his first term as mayor. Under his leadership, the City Council adopted an ordinance to create an Arts and Culture Commission to celebrate both the arts and the wonderful diversity of our community. This new commission will contribute to enhancing cultural awareness and understanding in our city. Thank you, Ray. Daly City has always taken pride in celebrating the rich cultural diversity in our community with a series of cultural heritage events throughout the year. This Saturday, we will host the 22nd annual Black History Month celebration at Pacelli Gym. In May, we'll celebrate the city's first ever Pacific Islander Festival. The Recreation Commission, in partnership with the Department of Library and Recreation Services, has created an event to highlight the contributions of our growing Pacific Islander population. Daly City's greatest asset is the people who live here, and we take pride in sharing all our cultural heritages. I do want to take the time to recognize a person who really does a lot for us. And I don't know if Joseph Kern's here. Is Joseph here? Joseph, thank you thank you, Joseph, okay? Appreciate it. Joseph always corrects me. I sometimes, and I hope the city manager, doesn't get upset. Sometimes I call it park and rec. That's not what you call it. It's something else. So I'm proud of the many accomplishments the city council has worked hard to achieve by working collaboratively. One that you may not have heard of, but is related to, is the secondhand smoke ordinance. The council adopted this in 2012. Daly City was just named one of 4 cities in the Bay Area to earn an overall grade of B on the American Lung Association's annual tobacco use report card. Last year at this time, we were rated F. More than half the cities in the county received the failing grades on the report card. 10 cities have the dubious distinction of receiving an F. I don't know who they are. As mayor, I take great pride in knowing that our city council's efforts are helping to improve the quality of life and health in our community. In closing, let me reiterate that one of the greatest challenges I face as mayor this year is containing my excitement for the anticipated economic growth on the horizon in this great city. Although as a city, we are subject to the whims of the state of California. But we are not giving in, and we are definitely not giving up. The loss of the Daly City Redevelopment Agency was a tremendous blow to our city's ability to attract quality development projects that would have greatly improved our economic outlook. Nevertheless, we are resilient, and we will continue to work hard in partnership with local businesses and the Chamber to ensure a growing and vibrant local economy. Daly City has a dedicated and hardworking city council that is determined to make our city the best that it can be. The leadership provided by the council, coupled with a creative, innovative, and loyal workforce of dedicated employees, led by our fearless leader, City Manager Pat Martell. Pat, can you please step up? Please, please. You know, whenever I can get Miss Martell to laugh, I know we're doing well today. But this is the perfect combination for success. 2014 is a new beginning for Daly City. The opportunities we are capitalizing on today will usher in a new, different, yet equally strong era of prosperity for Daly City, not unlike the milestone expansion that put Daly City on the map and brought us the Daly City BART station and Interstate 280. The economic growth we are poised to witness will transform our community into the 21st century city it's destined to become. Thank you very much.
Wow. With that kind of leadership, we can't go anywhere but up. They're wonderful. Very wonderful. Very, very much so. I would like to take this opportunity to truly thank both of our mayors, our city partners, Daly City and the town of Colma. I would also like to extend our grateful appreciation to Stephen House, who is here from the Outback Steakhouse, who has our luncheon and cake ready for us. I'd like to thank also Matt DeVincenzi of Classic Bowl, who has all the beverages and coffee on. And to the wonderful, wonderful U.S. Color Guard for their fine tribute to our flag. And to my admin, Felicia Leong. And to our IT photographer, chatter editor, Allison Wilson. And as a point of interest before we close, please mark your calendars and plan to attend our Major Employers Breakfast on February 20th, 8:30 to 11 at Lucky Chances Casino. And a reminder that our annual scholarship fundraiser, the one and only Crab Feed, will be held on March 20th, 5:30 to 9 o'clock at Colma Community Center. Felicia is going to wander around here. She has the mic so that anybody that is interested in speaking to a question or what have you can be heard. You're ready? Good. And so I just wanted to give you all those points. And now I will turn it over to both of our mayors for the important questions and answers.
Okay, well, I
think we're going to stand up, right, Heather?
Good, yeah. Okay, let me move back here. There you go.
Any questions?
We'll pay you not to ask a question. Just kidding.
I want to ask a question.
Yeah.
What do you do about,
She's got to bring you the mic.
I should talk loud. No, I was wondering, in the neighborhood, you know, the bums are coming in. I hate to say that, but they're sleeping right out in the streets by the bus stops and right across from Walgreens. And I was wondering, what can we do about it? I make a call, but nobody responds. And they're just terrible. They look like they're dead laying under those banks. You never know what's under there.
Okay.
So I needed to get some kind of input.
Sure.
I'm through. Anybody else?
So does anyone know Miss Noble? Miss Noble has been, how long have you been on Mission Street?
Oh, since 2000.
Since 2000, but she's been really involved in terms of training realtors. So let me answer your question directly. I think one of the things that we need to ensure is that we got to make sure that you're responded to and you're accessible. Our city council, if you have an issue, our police department, they respond rather rapidly to that. So I'd be more than willing to work with you, address your concern, and to do that. Quality of life in Daly City is just vitally important. And I think what I appreciate about your question is your passion to make Daly City better. And so we'll address that. And what's the address? What's the address
It's
you're on?
right across from 6121 Mission Street.
So we're at 6121 Mission Street?
6121 Mission, which is 6121 Mission Street, which is my office building, and it's yellow.
Mhm.
You can tell, and the people lay under the window sometimes, but I call the police.
Good. We have your address written down. I will talk with city staff. We'll make sure we address it, okay?
Thank you very much.
You're welcome.
Well, I won't address it because I don't think we have that issue unless they're hiding in the cemeteries. I don't know. I'm looking at our chief, no?
This is for the two cities. We take the dog for a walk, and I work in Daly City, and I live in Daly City, and we seem to have more garbage. And as hard as the garbage company can come around, or we call the city is gracious, it's picked up when we call and let them know about it. It seems to be more garbage out there, mattresses, garbage, and just questioning both cities on what can we do to cut back on that, because our cities and where we live and where we work, I just feel like that brings our city down, to maintain it. And that's a whole nother thing we'd probably talk about, but maintaining of the city, which you guys do very well, but there's the other people that come in and dump.
Yeah.
So,
It's a very good question. One of the things that we've been able to do is to really leverage technology. And so we have an application that you can use on your phone, and that really provides a direct connect. I could tell you that our staff takes tremendous pride in making sure that when they hear of an issue, they're there to make sure that trash is picked up. The one thing you have to realize is it all comes down to personal accountability. And sometimes when people move, and I've seen this on Mission Street, they leave their stuff behind. That saddens me, but it's personal accountability. But to answer your question, we'll make sure that we're on top of it. Our staff is on top of a lot of these things. We'll identify the areas that you just outlined, and we'll make sure that we get on top of it. So, thank you. Yep.
In Colma, I know that our staff also, as well as our council members, if we're driving around, and our police officers, if we're driving around and we see that problem, it gets reported right away to our Public Works Department, and we take care of it. And maybe because we're smaller, but things are obvious, because in the small residential area of Colma, or even the business area, we do see that. Our Public Works Department and our Planning Department work with the businesses when there's a lot of garbage around. And you don't want to beat the businesses up because maybe they have a lot of garbage that they're not able to deal with. We work with the garbage company and the businesses to get it under control. As far as dumping, if someone leaves their, like you mentioned, mattresses or large amounts of garbage before the garbage pickup day, then our Public Works Department works with that resident and also the garbage company to get it taken care of. So it is accountability, as David said, and none of the council members are immune to that. If we see something, we call it in. If residents call it in, you have an app in Daly City. We have a bunch of phone numbers that we give out to that in our monthly newsletter, and that's how it gets handled.
Hello, Ellen. Well, I can, I'm going to ask the same question I asked last year. The workers that you have along
280 Metro.
on 280 Metro, I have to say, I think they're getting a little more aggressive, but I've talked to your police chief, Chief Reed, and I understand what to do, but maybe there needs to be a system out there. One day I was coming home from a meeting and I came down El Camino and went up towards Metro 280, and I was sitting at the regular stop sign, and this young Hispanic kid started to come up, and I saw like he was going to reach thank God my car doors were closed. He was reaching to open my car door, probably to grab my purse out, but he looked in my car window first. So your chief gave me some good instructions, and since then it hasn't happened. But those guys are getting a little more aggressive out there. You see them pitching pennies, you see them playing cards, and we do drive through your town a lot. So I know it's a problem, and I don't know how it can be addressed, and you know everybody's suffering with it. So I just wanted to let you know things are happening.
Well, I too go up and down Colma Boulevard, and yeah, our police department is handling that. We are working very closely with the stores. One of the things that we did address is Home Depot has like a little kiosk in front of it, and so we worked with the store to make it not so comfortable to be sitting there all day. However, I do see them sitting on the landscape area. I know our planning department also is working with 280 Metro, and 280 Metro is much more willing, I'm seeing with some of their enhancements to the shopping center, and a lot of it is conversation. The other side of the coin is a lot of these folks don't have employment, and we have to be conscientious of the fact that, you know, folks that are picking them up are encouraging that. So I know that PD is working with the stores to then have, I don't know if we have a brochure that goes out to the people that purchase there, because they're the ones that, it's the shoppers that are getting hit by these folks to help them. But it may be something that we can look at to just kind of give a heads up. Do you realize, you know, if you're picking them up, you're liable to, there's all kinds of risks for the folks that are picking them up. I do know some are more aggressive than others. And it depends on the day of the week, on how many are there, and sometimes I'll count them, and I've had other council members in town council mention that to our staff as well. So we are very well aware of it. I'm sure we're not alone. I know San Mateo had a huge dealing with it and actually put in like a hiring center. Colma, I don't think is there yet, but I do appreciate your concern.
Hi, getting back to the garbage, is this on?
Yeah, it's on.
Getting back to the garbage, I'm thinking about what can you do, if anything, when you see a lot of garbage on private property? Is there anything that anybody can do?
So in Colma, you're sitting right next to the gentleman, but in Colma, our planning department takes care of those issues and complaints. And we have a process, I'm sure Daly City does as well, and it's a multiple step process. And government works slow because you have, you know, all of us have our rights. And you have to, you know, you do your letters of warning, and then you kind of handhold them. And then we, actually in Colma, we have the cleanup day once a year where we afford the opportunity of all residents, no question asked, to bring their garbage to our corp yard. And believe it or not, we have 3 garbage companies that serve 1,600 people in Colma. I know it's odd, but it's just the way it was. We inherited that. But the 3 garbage companies work together on the recycling part and taking the garbage that people have, the metal or appliances. And about a week or 2 before, we also have a garage sale. citywide garage sale, hoping, now this is not always good, hoping that people will get rid of stuff out of their house, but then I think sometimes some neighbor's buying something from another neighbor, and it's just moving around. But the encouragement of the cleanup day is to take care of some of the residents. Some folks, unfortunately, and I think it's in every city, have the hoarding issue, and that's not necessarily their fault. You know, it sometimes is, if any of you have ever watched the hoarders on TV, it's like, oh my God, how did they get there? And then you realize it's an underlying thing. But the planning department does work with them step by step to get them to get the cars off their site, to get the garbage off their site, and sometimes it's a hardship that we're not aware of until we get into communication with them. How does Daly City handle it?
Sure, I'll tell you. I'll give you a prime example. So everyone knows where Juniper Serra is, right? So in how code enforcement, I'll give you a real life example how it worked in Daly City. So there was issues of, garbage being strewn all over the place. There was an issue of, I think, and Pat remembers this, they had cement going into sort of a water runway. And so what we did is, and like Ms. Fisser-Carl said, it's really not that easy. So there's a process that was set up. One, we collaborated with the city on the staff level, collaborated with the city of South City, worked with them, made sure that they were up to code enforcement, took legislative action through a resolution. That resolution said that in terms of the property, there are certain conditions and requirements that had to be met. Because we took that action on a code enforcement level, and then we did it through a legislative remedy, it was able to resolve itself. And so I just sort of give you that example to sort of illustrate the point that it's not really that easy. But I will tell you, our code department is very, very good. And when I say they're very good, when there's an issue that's identified, they go out to the site, make sort of an assessment and evaluation, and we really try to make sure when it comes to private property that, they're held to task. And so we'll continue to do that. Yeah? Yes, ma'am. Jumana.
My name is Jumana, and I represent the Better Business Bureau. My voice is loud enough. I go to a lot of meetings, and I belong to 41 Chamber of Commerce's. And the issue was brought up about people dumping stuff. And I don't know if it's in your budget, but they put cameras in certain areas, and they were able to follow these two gentlemen that dropped some things. And the cameras caught them, and they followed them, and they cited them. So I don't know if it's within your budget, but I think that's a great idea with certain areas that you can put cameras.
Well, I thank you for that suggestion. I know we've looked, when the uptick in crime happened, we talked to our police chief and our city attorney about putting cameras on all the corners, which would have been a great tool. But most of the cities, or the information we got back was, you really need to, if the individual business wants to put a camera up, that's better than a city, because all these rights, people feel that people's licenses are taken and all that. So that's why you hear in the news when there's a crime, the police department will go around to the different individual businesses and get the tapes, and that's how they're solving the crimes. You mentioned dumping. I sit on the Colma Creek Committee. I've been on there for about 18 years, and we have that same discussion about the dumping that ends up with stuff in the Colma Creek, and that conversation comes up all the time about getting those businesses to put cameras on so that we can stop the people that are dumping horrible stuff that gets into our Colma Creek, as well as just mattresses and other garbage. So it is a good idea. It's just working with the community to get them to put up the cameras and then be able to work together and get the film so we can solve those crimes.
Okay. So I think with local government, budgets are sort of contracting, the recession of 2008, to sort of make that capital expense is probably not the best use at this time of taxpayers' dollars. But that being said, I think the way technology is, and I see our police chief, Manny Martinez back there, that a lot of the crimes, not a lot of them, but being solved, are through private owners having surveillance cameras. And so I think in a city, when you're dealing with contracting budgets, probably not the right direction to go in. But that being said, I think if we're able to use the existing cameras that are out there through private businesses, that'll be sufficient enough.
I'm going to change the topic. Change the topic just for a second. think of reminiscing both your speeches as education. And obviously, being from DeVry University, it's something near and dear to my heart. And obviously, was in the president's speech as well a few nights ago. You talk about economic ups and downs, and recession, is going away. Crime statistics. Well, education is tied to a lot of that, and educating your workforce, your community, to help things stay stable throughout the years and times. What are you doing to promote education, whether it be K-12 success, and particularly higher education, which is right in your borders at DeVry University, to, hey, go check it out, get educated, business, technology, things that are in STEM-related education degrees, certificates, bachelor's, master's degrees, we're right here. It could be a win-win for everybody.
So I know that Colma, as well as Daly City, support the scholarship fund that comes through the chamber. 150% we support that. As well as our employees have an opportunity to further educate themselves through a tuition refund plan. We don't have any schools in Colma. Yes, they go to the schools in Daly City, but we also encourage the children that get the honor roll recognition in September every year. That is probably our most fun meeting. I know all our council members love it, but the kids, kindergarten or all the way through grade 12, anyone that has achieved that kind of honor in their school, whether it's public or private, we collect that information and we recognize them with the certificate, encouraging them. And you should see what that does to their siblings. Gee, my older brother got this. I want to be here next year. And several times we've also been proud of the fact that they've gotten that award. I would say quite a few of them have received the scholarship in turn from the Chamber of Commerce. And we are very proud of our residents, our children that get to that achievement. So we do encourage education, and some of them, some of the kids, the young kids work for us in the summer in the recreation department. And then we hear about where they're going to college, and everyone in Colma is proud of the product that comes out of Colma.
I think a couple things. I guess I'll address the K through 12 issue. I think the state has changed in terms of core competencies. I will tell you that our local high schools are doing rather well. So Jefferson High School last year had the highest increase in API performance in San Mateo County. Westmore toggles with Terra Nova as one of the best high schools within the Jefferson Union high school district. In terms of the education piece, we have a lot of good assets around us, right? So we have San Francisco State, we have DeVry, we have Skyline. And so we have to make sure on a K through 12 level that we make the appropriate investments. Having the, and I'm a graduate of, I got my AA from Skyline actually in criminal justice. And so the point being is we have to do everything to make sure that we support education. First and paramount, that's the most important thing when it comes to education, bottom line. And so we have the infrastructure here. If we're able to help them on the K through 12 and then there's early childhood learning, that's what we need to focus on. I want to thank you, Will, for all you do at DeVry. You're a shining star at Universera, Pacific Plaza, and thank you for the wonderful work you do, and thank you for that question. Okay.
Alicia?
This is for Daly City, for Mayor Canepa. What can we look forward to in Daly City of some of the capital improvement projects in the coming year? We've had a kind of with the recession on, a moratorium on that. What can we look forward to in the coming year?
It's a really good question, and it's a tough question to answer. The reason I say that is we're looking at our two-year budget process, and we're going to be doing an assessment and evaluation. And when you look at a budget, right, you have to invest in your capital. And so, and for several reasons. One, I mean, you got to make sure things are working. So we continue to look at how we can improve on our capital. Remember, in 2008, we had, it was the Great Recession. And as a cities, not cities just in Daly City, but the 364 cities across the state of California, were just trying to pull it together. And so when we sort of evaluate the budget for the next 2 years, that's something I think that we're going to place a high focus on. I will tell you this, what Daly City has been extraordinary and able to do is leveraging funds. So let me give you several examples, okay? When you look at the top of the hill, Daly City, the transportation hub, and look, Mission Street, I could say this, Mission Street needs a facelift, okay? And so what do we do to make sure that we're able to fund those projects? Is general fund dollars just going to do it for us? No. What you have to do is you have to find a mixture of dollars. And so what the city has been able to do with the top of the hill, and the police officers know and the chief knows, there's a theory called the broken window theory. What we're experiencing at the top of the hill, right, because of the new transportation hub, 88 Hill, we're experiencing the good window theory. And so let me give you an example of what happened. The top of the hill, if you looked at Elite Motors, because of all that's happened, the businesses, the small business started painting their storefronts. And so if we don't invest in our infrastructure, if we don't create that environment, we're really not doing a service. And one last thing, one thing I'm extremely proud of and been working with Ms. Martell on, and thank you, Ms. Martell, for your leadership on a county level, is that I was just appointed the vice chair of the San Mateo County Transportation Authority. That's a half-cent sales tax, millions and millions of dollars. And so we have a couple projects that are in the pipeline that we're looking at driving some dollars to improve Daly City and other North County cities. You got Colma, you got Pacifica, which I represent Colma, Pacifica, San Bruno, South City, in Brisbane, and Colma. And so how we leverage those dollars in this tough economic environment is going to create the opportunities for us for a livable community. It was long-winded, I'm sorry. Thank you. That's it. Thank you.
Okay. Once again, thank you both very, very much. And thank you to this great audience.